Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today in the presence of Begonia Coconut and in the company of you, my divine subscribers, to witness the celebration of 70 years of vintage wedding fashion and associated accessories. Hello everybody, I hope you're all very well. Betty here with my daughter Begonia Coconut. She's a little bit hot. It's a bit much for her with her fur coat on because we are having a really quite sweltering heat wave. It's sort of earlyish mid to mid-June in England, in the northwest, and normally it's a freezing cold place. But we've just been absolutely walloped with a scorcher. So as much as I'm enjoying it, and I feel very comfortable in this kind of humidity and heat, look at little Begonia. Oh, darling. You don't know what to do with yourself, do you? No. She's tried sitting outside, and she's tried sitting inside. She's found some shady spots. It's just too much, isn't it? Yeah. Do you wish you could take your coat off? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good girl. You got something stuck on your nose. Good girl. Does that help? Does biting me help? Does it cool you down? Anyway, yeah, as I say, it's mid-June and inspired by the vintage wedding veil that I found a few weeks ago in the flea market, I thought it was the perfect time to dig out my collection of vintage wedding dresses and wedding jewellery and I haven't got loads, but a few of the wedding headdresses that I've found along the way in the car boot and in the flea market and in the charity shops. I have never in my entire life considered the option of getting married. It's never crossed my mind. Even as a child, I didn't even think about it. You know, when little girls are sort of dreaming about their big day, or we're told to dream about our big day. Never even crossed my mind. Not for a second. And by the time I sort of got old enough to think that it was something I was supposed to do, it was too late because Elvis had already been dead a few years. So what's a girl to do? There's no one else I'd want to marry. So yeah, no, carried on. And also in the 90s, when when I was of the age where you're traditionally supposed to think about getting married, it was so completely out of fashion. None of my friends or my circle or my sort of peer group got married. And I remember I met someone at work. I started working on a new show at the BBC, and she said she was married, and I just was completely floored. And she sort of took offence because she thought that I thought that she was so ugly that no one would marry her. And I very, very quickly explained that no, it's because it just seemed like such a sort of a grown-up thing to do. I mean, we were in our 20s, but such a sort of, like a world away from what I'd, lived up to that point. And we became fantastic friends. She was a beautiful person. But we had a good laugh about that. And yeah, no, never thought about it. I mean, Lord knows, I have been asked many times. I always used to just say, oh, no, thank you. And they're still asking. Not the same men. I've managed to swerve them now. But random men will still, try their luck, and they'll still ask. And my reply has changed somewhat in my latter years. And I've dropped the thank you. I just say no. So anyway, never mind all that. Today's vlog, Feel Good Friday vlog, is an absolute celebration of fashion. I'm going to try and not drag you all down a wormhole with me into feminism and female liberation, or lack of it. See, there I go. Can't help myself. No, I'm just going to try and stick to the fashion. So The thing that started me off was when I first moved back to England, I went to a car boot sale, and there was a pile. It was like just a mountain of fabric and clothes and rags, and just like, well, I mean, they were dirty rags, but you know, it was just like an absolute mountain. I mean, you literally had to climb on top of it. It was about 4 foot high, and it was huge. The guy who brought it just would turn up in his van, and it was like a sort of big rotating ball of gear in the back of his van, and he'd just kind of push it all out onto a tarpaulin. And then people would dig through it, and then at the end of the day he'd just roll it all back up into the tarpaulin and shove it back in his van, and then off he'd go to the next car boot sale or flea market. And that, I mean, that to me is absolute heaven. That's like a mountain of candy. But I started digging, and there was about 4 or 5 of us, men included, and we were all like having a great time chatting and laughing about what we were finding. There was some great vintage stuff in there, and but sort of after about 15 minutes, I sort of felt overwhelmed, and you know, when you get that feeling where you get really, really excited, but then once you sort of get in too deep, you realise you're just kind of out of your depth. And I felt like I was sort of just a little bit, oh my God, I can't touch the floor, I can't touch the sand. It was a wave of clothes. But anyway, in the middle of this pile, which I also found some amazing vintage, like 1970s Caprice Flake style camisoles and lace clothes. I'm getting distracted already. I found a blue carrier bag with something inside it that was squashed. So, well, that's just a given. That, I mean, if I don't know what it is, and it's clean and it's squashed and it's a bit of a mystery, I'm all in. So I took it to him. I said, oh, I can have this, please. And he said, what is it? I said, I've no idea. He said, well, what are you going to do with it? I said, I haven't got a clue. Okay. It was something like 30p. So I took it. And that night, when I was sitting sort of going through all the treasures that I'd found, I got this thing out of the bag, and it was sort of like squashed concertina with a few beads stuck to it. And I just couldn't figure out what it was. I managed to sort of pull it, stretch it to its supposedly correct shape. And I just like, I didn't have Google Lens at the time. You couldn't reverse image anything. But I just started scrolling and diving and swimming down into the sort of the darkest crevices of a Google search. And then I found something that I think explained what it was. And I'll show you which item it was. Poopy. It was this. It was this. No, sorry. It was this thing. So it's possibly unworn, but may of course been worn once on the day, the big day. And let me turn that off for you. Designed by Michael S. Farnworth. That was the only clue I had, and I realised it turned out to be a 1950s bridal sort of head cap, and it would go on like that, and the bun, the sort of beehive, would go out of the back, so this would be over the beehive, and the bride's head would be at the front. Let me demonstrate on Babs. Like so, but obviously it would be a bit higher because a human bride wouldn't have ears on the top of their head. They'd have ears round about here. But because Babs's ears are proud, this is a bit low. So there we go. So the beehive would be sticking out the back. Oh God, Babs. That's quite good. That looks better. That looks more natural. So I just need to glue this back, and that'll be that fixed. There we go. There, doesn't she look fantastic? Oh my God, that's it. I also found these veils and headdresses by Trudy Lee, this vintage Aurora Borealis and faux pearl tiara in a charity shop. I think I paid about £5 for this. I'll just put it on Barbara. I don't know about you, but Barbara's sort of got that look on her face that Catherine Ross had at the end scene of The Graduate, you know, when they're on the bus and she realises that she's made an absolutely terrible mistake. How's she going to get rid of Dustin Hoffman and salvage the dust and embers of her destroyed life that hasn't even started? So I think Trudy Lee is possibly 70s or 80s, and I've also got this one that I found in a charity shop that I think is probably 90s or Y2K. I believe those are Aurora Borealis on a sterling silver wired sort of. It's a very natural organic shape. I think Barbara prefers this one. Looking a lot less stressed, Babs. You look quite fresh. You don't look like you've had a hen night last night. Finally, back to the veil, which was a bit of a mystery. I thought it might have been 60s, but I think, well, I'll tell you why I think this first. Because I was just dragging everything out of all the cupboards and all the crates and all the boxes that I've got everything stored in. And the only way I could carry it without ripping it was to put it on my head. No, seriously, I wasn't playing, because the minute I put it on my head, I reverted to being a 7-year-old Betty, and I just thought, get it off me, get it off me, I hate it. But it was on, and I just had 5 of the gowns in my arms, and I thought I was going to fall down the stairs, and then I was worried that who was going to look after Begonia and all of that, and the French doors were open with someone going to come in and steal her and all my possessions as I lay there dying in a pile of vintage wedding gowns like Miss Havisham. Anyway, I didn't fall, but as soon as I sort of clocked myself in the mirror, I didn't really look at myself in it, but I realised straight away the shape 70s. Don't you think? I think I've just got a sort of bit of a, I mean, I've got that Catherine Ross vibe going on here as well. And I know that was that earlier than the 70s? Oh no, maybe it was the 70s. And also a bit of a Bianca Jagger thing. Do you know what I mean? The look? This look? A bit sort of rock star bride. With the height? Yeah, anyway. It suddenly became alive, and it's now my favourite. I just think it's fantastic, and I might wear it in the garden just for fun. Oh my god, I just put that in there, and don't you think we've suddenly gone very Mexican, sort of Mexican bride? Oh my god, that's amazing. Oh, I love it. Okay, that's my Yarden outfit for the weekend sorted. This is becoming much more fun. It's getting better and better and better. That's terrifying. Poor Babs. I've released her. She's very much more comfortable now. You look lovely, darling. Okay, so what I've got here is just a collection of all the faux pearls and the Aurora Borealis that I've collected, either from the big jewellery bags that I've bought from the flea market, or here, there and everywhere from the thrift stores and car boots and things like that. But I don't know if you recall, because I simply can't remember. But I found a necklace in one of the jewellery bags that to me was a mystery. And I was just sitting one day in my bedroom going through some stuff, trying to sort out some work, and so I didn't have to think about work. I thought, well, I'll just try and have a look on Google, see if I can find out anything about that necklace I found in a jewellery bag about 6 months ago. And it's this. It's a rather beautiful, delicate, and a bit of a standout piece amongst a sea of faux pearls. You could tell that it was a little bit different. You could feel it, you could see the quality, and also it was stamped. Sorry, I know there's no way that's going to be visible to you, but on the side of the clasp here, just by my nail, is a stamp, IPS. And well, it turns out that that's good news. It stands for International Pearl Syndicate, and these are the highest quality cultured pearls you can get. It was a company formed in 1917, I believe, who went through various manifestations and sort of regroupings, and then one man amalgamated 3 companies, one of which is Giovanni, who is a fantastic supplier of mid-century jewellery. I've got a few pieces by Giovanni, which is the company. That's not a person's name as the designer. And it also includes the International Pearl Syndicate. And they sort of developed with a mind of creating extremely high quality cultured pearls for an affordable range for every woman. I think that was actually their motto: pearls for everyone, pearls for every woman. And they do it, or they did it, as ethically as they could at the time, and still now it's an extremely well regarded company, and these are really, really gorgeous. Now, I'm not going to go down that road. I've said I wasn't. I promised you I wouldn't. But the kind of pearls for purity and chastity, all that shite. I can't be doing with that. But I can be doing with these because they're a little bit magic. So there we go. That's a little bit of culture, a little bit of social history, and a lot of style. They're a gorgeous colour. There we are. So I'm allowing them in, and I'm just going to leave it there before I start ranting. Okay, here we go. It's time for the dresses. Now, I've been teasing you with this number in the corner from the start of the video, and it's a dress that I found in a charity shop a few years ago, sort of in the middle of lockdown, and it was just the best find, and it caused an absolute stir in the shop when I got it, when I had it at the till, and I actually couldn't really see how good it was when I had it in my arms, because I just saw it. And there's many a time that I've passed up on vintage wedding dresses in the past. It's just never really been my interest. But this one, basically, she put her hand out and she grabbed hold of me and she said, please take me home, save me. And it was a little bit grubby, but 15 minutes through the washing machine and voila. Oh my God, well, absolutely amazing. 1950s. At first, I was a little bit doubtful. I thought, is it possibly 60s? Because of the neckline and the daisy banding. But then I found a picture of Audrey Hepburn getting married, and I can't show it to you, obviously, because of copyright, but she was in a dress very much of this style with the poof bell cuff sleeves and the high neck. It has a train. It's got a moderate train, I'd say a medium to small train. But it's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. And obviously, absolutely tiny. Let me show you the cuffs. Look at the tiny cuffs. Come on, darling. It's time for school. Don't. No, I'm not going there. Stop. So yeah, look at that. Isn't it fabulous? Tons and tons of lining and knitting. It's the sleeves, it's this that does it for me. So yeah, absolutely love it. And so that's the 1950s. I bought the next one about a week ago, and it was filthy dirty, and I brought it home in a bin bag. So here's a little bit of a sort of a back track. Day before yesterday I did this. Here, I'll just insert it here. Whose big day has ended up in a bin bag in my house? Whose whole life has ended up in a black bin bag in my house? In my hands. Well, let's have a look. Ooh, ooh, it's a bit Bram Stokerish, isn't it? Ooh, it's a bit scary. I always think there's something really terrifying about brides' gowns, brides' dresses. Oh. I feel like shouting, "Nurse, get the paddles!" Boof, boof. Right, let's get this body bag off her and breathe some life into her. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. These are loose for the first time in possibly 60 years. Right, let's have a look. Now, I did overpay for this, and I had to get it out in the shop with the women, with the ladies, and I said, I'll only buy it if there's definitely no holes. And I just had a little bit of a heart attack. I thought that was a hole, but it's not. It's the train. So it's obviously just where it's got dirty on the ground. Hopefully the old fly spray, the oxy stain will get that out. And okay, so I hope it'll get this out too, because that's old staining. Do you know what? I've got worse out, so let's have a proper look. Oxy stain remover.
I love you, spicy hot noodle. You're so extreme. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Be lucky. You all right in there, love? Seriously, when those dresses are wet and they're just hanging there like that, it's absolutely terrifying. If you want to feel haunted, get yourself a second-hand vintage wedding dress, put it through the machine and then hang it up to loom in a doorway. You'll never sleep again. Well, look at that. It's come up an absolute treat. Glowing. It's slightly off-white, but I think it was probably slightly off-white to start with. And a huge train, much, much longer. But actually this dress is so small, it won't even go on the mannequin. I've tried it over the top, out of breath from trying to get the thing on the mannequin. And then I've taken the body off the mannequin and tried to put it through the waist hole because the hips are smaller than the shoulders. Absolutely nowhere near. So this must be a size 6 or age 12. Stop it. Yeah, but do you know what I love about this dress? Apart from the train, which is fabulous, I love this little detail. There. Because the arms are so thin. I mean the fabric, I don't mean the person, the girl, the woman, the child. Um, the arms are so thin that they put a little pleat in there so that she can bend her elbow, which I find is often quite useful. Same decade, but in complete contrast. I call this my Scylla in the 60s wedding column. Spy name, anyone who had a heart. "1970s vintage Frank Usher. I'm not gonna lie, this dress and I have seen some action together. And it's one of my favourite items on earth. I think this dress is a work of art. I think it's perfect. And when you're in it, those bloody unwanted marriage proposals just come flying at you from all directions. I put it on once just for a joke when I was on the boat, and some neighbours. Well, there were a lot of divorced men in the marina, if you know what I mean. There was a lot of sort of failed divorcees on narrowboats in the marina, and it was hard work, to be honest, trying to dodge them. But yeah, I put this on once when we were all sitting having a sort of barbecue on the pontoon, just for a joke. I put it on over my jeans. I've never seen a group of motley men just fall like skittles. There was something about this dress. Obviously, it's because I was in it, I'm sure. But there was something about this dress that caused them to unravel. So I very quickly took it off and put my jumper on. Anyway, isn't it amazing? Oh, Frank Usher. I thought it was 80s when I got it, but I'm pretty sure it's 70s now. It's Bianca Jagger style, isn't it? Yeah, Studio 54 and all that disco rock and roll wedding. Jesus Christ. Imagine. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's fucking insane. We all had it on in the charity shop yesterday. I went running down the road. I was going to do this video, and then I thought, darn it, I can't do it because I need one from every decade. And I thought I didn't have one from the 70s, and then I realised I did, the old Frank Usher. And just 10 minutes before the shop was shutting, I mean, we'd all had this dress out, the three of us, the women who work in the charity shop, and I, it's near me. We've all been through this dress several times. There was a lot of twirling going on, and I didn't get it because I thought, oh, I don't want to be lumbered with something this enormous in the house if I can't really do a proper vlog, proper sort of period video. But with the arrival of the Frank Usher, after a massive read through my crates, forgot all that. Completely forgot I had that Frank Usher dress. I legged it down the road and dragged Guinevere back to the castle. Anyone for a joust? I mean, my God, if you could feel the weight of this dress and also the girth of the under netting, she'd have to be wheeled around on a sort of, you know, those wheels that they put sort of jousting horses on in museums, and they sort of move them around on like a trolley. You'd need one of those. I'm going to show you the knitting, but it will give you absolutely no real perspective on just how violent it is. Wait a sec. I mean, listen. Ah, yeah. So can you see the sort of, do you know what I mean? It's so rough and coarse and brittle, this net. You could strike a damp match on that and it would ignite. Honestly, I can't imagine how uncomfortable she must have been. Unless she had even more skirts on. But still, can you imagine in this kind of heat? Perhaps it was a winter wedding. And I actually realised something last night, that someone has added this section, which I think is brilliant. They've sort of repurposed it later on for possibly a fancy dress or for a theatre show to make it look much more medieval, you know, like a sort of Tudorish style gown, because that's not original. Onk, onk. I mean, the detail's amazing. It's got little sort of puff sleeve inserts in there to make that stand out, which work a treat. It's got lovely vent. More roses. Really, all the action is happening at the back. Well, hello there. How are you? Very pleased to meet you. And my God, look at this. Look at all of these cover buttons. I haven't counted them. But I can't imagine that there'd be very much action happening on the wedding night if you had to get through all that lot. If I'd been wearing this, to be honest, and by the time the nighttime came, I'd have just told someone to get a carving knife and it went like this in the 90s. Yes, it did. I'm just going to take this moment to say a personal thank you to Madonna. I'm sure she'll be watching. But genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank Madonna for, first of all, reclaiming the pearls, and secondly, single-handedly leading the next phase of female liberation. Madonna, thank you. What's up? Do you like this one? Everything changed. Y2K and the birth of the prom. Not only did you get to wear your long gowns for your wedding, you could also wear them out on a normal Saturday night in the town. Fabulous, I'm all for it. This one is by Alberto Macali, and the train is back. So this could be for walking down the aisle or the red carpet. It became interchangeable, really, and it's normalised now. You could wear this not just at a wedding, but anywhere. I love it. It's got a sort of throwback to 2 millennia back. It's got a sort of a Roman look to the back and to the straps, but it's also got a sort of throw to the future. It's a little bit sort of cosmic, a little bit atomic, a little bit futuristic. Do you get me? Thanks, Begonia. Begonia understands me. I'll just show you the back straps. And finally, the 2010s. I call this the Carrie Gets Married wedding dress. Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City. This is it. So there we are, my friends. Thank you ever so much for watching. Begonia Coconut is absolutely exhausted. She's going to have to try all these on again later for a photo shoot. And I thank you a million times over. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, please. And please subscribe. It's completely free. And that's everything. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic heatwave week. As long as you're not in any danger and you're out of the smoke, God blimey. Hope everyone's okay over there. Take care, and I'll see you again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. 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 Bye bye.